Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have a presentation that's going to be made by the Canadian Volunteer Fire Service, and Mark Pam from, where is it? Kentville Fire Department going to present the awards for tonight.
It's truly an honor to stand here before you today on behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association to present one of the most prestigious recognitions of our organization, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This year, we are proud to celebrate an exceptional individual whose dedication, service, and leadership have left an indelible mark on the volunteer fire service community. Please join me in congratulating the 2024 recipient, Reed Wynot of the Bridgewater Fire Department. Reed's career in the fire service is nothing short of extraordinary. With 50 years of service, his unwavering commitment to protecting his community and mentoring the next generation of firefighters embodies the very spirit of volunteerism. Reed has not only responded to countless emergencies, but has also been instrumental in shaping the culture of safety, camaraderie, and excellence within the Bridgewater Fire Department. Throughout his tenure, Reed has demonstrated a passion for sharing his knowledge and expertise. From training new recruits to enhancing operational protocols, he's ensured that the legacy of the Bridgewater Fire Department is one of resilience and readiness. His mentorship has inspired many to follow in his footsteps, fostering a stronger, more connected fire service community. Reed's contributions extend beyond his department. His leadership and advocacy for volunteer fire service have made a lasting impact on our collective mission to safeguard communities across Canada. He exemplifies what it means to serve selflessly, and his dedication reminds us all why we choose this path. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Makita for their support of this award. As a valued partner, Makita's commitment to recognizing the outstanding contributions of individuals like Reed is a testament to their belief in the power of community and volunteerism. Their sponsorship ensures that we can continue to honor those who have given so much to protect and serve. All the tools on the table are a donation from Makita to the recipient's department. Reed, as you accept this Lifetime Achievement Award, know that your impact reaches far beyond the walls of your fire hall. Your leadership, dedication, and compassion have touched countless lives, and your legacy will inspire future generations of volunteer firefighters. This is the first year that we'll be giving a large coin for Reed to keep, and it's got his name engraved on it with the year, as well as now this is one of only 15 coins like this, a keeper coin or pocket coin that he can have as well. On behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association, the Bridgewater Fire Department, and the many communities you have served, thank you for extraordinary service. Congratulations, Reed, on this well-deserved recognition. Please join me in a round of applause as we celebrate the remarkable achievements of Reed Wynot.
welcome to our official stamp cancellation for the town of Bridgewater. And glad to see everybody's here.
I just like, well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming out to this on our birthday, 125 years. It's something quite special for the town, and I wanna thank the South Shore Stamp Club for this the stamp cancellation. Right, is that the pictorial stamp cancellation?
Yes.
I have in my pocket the last one that I keep in my office at Town Hall from 2017, where we had the one for Bijanuiska Park, which also has the nice stamp on it for the park. So I have a couple of these that are on display, so whenever I'm meeting with developers or business people interested in coming to our town to start a new business, this is one of the things they see. And so to mark our 125th birthday with another, I find these, obviously they're unique, but they're also very special. I think it's very fitting. So thank you all for putting this together and for being here today.
Anyways, thank you everybody for coming for our Bridgewater 125. And the Philatelic Society has asked us to produce a cancellation commemorating this event, so which we have done, and it's turned out with very positive reviews. And Canada Post is really pleased to be involved with supporting Philatelic Society and Bridgewater. So of course, it's just been a great time. So the cancel is officially released as of right now, and please take part in some of the festivities. We have coffee, tea, donuts, anything you folks like. So thank you very much.
Thanks for all your effort.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks.
I'm Amanda Fancy. I'm the dealer owner of Gauss Home Hardware and Furniture. We've been at this location for about a year. We started in 1848, way back when. This is our 5th location, so you know, we've never have left the town limits. So we're looking.
All right, good evening, everyone. I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of Bridgewater Town Council to order. And as always, Town of Bridgewater is located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people, and it is our privilege to be here. The agenda has been circulated. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none, motion to approve the agenda is circulated. Half of the side of the room. Councillor Wynot, seconded by Councillor Conklin. All those in favor? Motion is carried. Are there any announcements from members of council? Councillor Fisher.
Yes, I would like to just remind people that on behalf of the Bridgewater and Area Chamber, we have our summer mixer Thursday evening, which is at Bernard Maze in Blockhouse. If you haven't been, it's amazing. And so we'll have a caterer there. It's a great time to come and mingle with other business partners from 5 o'clock to 7 p.m.
Does the chamber have like an upcoming speaker for something? Something coming up.
Yes. Oh, pardon me.
Sorry, I guess that's true.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
On the same evening after you've gone to the Bernard Maze. Is it Thursday evening?
No, it's Wednesday evening.
Wednesday.
So, but I think
Okay,
it's
sorry.
next week. It's next week if my
Next
calendar has not lied to me. So yeah, next week we've got a shop talk presentation. I'll be talking about digital productivity, so I'll be doing that at the Stonemont. So that's exciting.
I was trying to set it all
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
I appreciate it. So yeah, you can come to a shop talk presentation, and then you can also enjoy. Well, I guess the Chamber of Commerce mixer is this week, and then the shop talk's next week.
That's
So
right.
lots of fun.
My apologies.
No, thank you.
Any other announcements from council?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe our police commission is looking for new members, if I saw that correctly.
Yep, so we have a vacancy, and ads have gone out, so they're on social media, and looking for folks interested in being a citizen representative on the Bridgewater Police Board. So yes, thanks for highlighting that. That's great. Anything else from council? Councillor Conklin.
Just a little shout out to the organizers for BridgeCon, which was held at the Bridgewater Memorial Arena on the 3rd of August. They had a fantastic turnout, and I am hoping that they are planning on coming back next year to be bigger and better. But it was I was really impressed with the quality of displays and the different schedule of activities that they had and the other vendors. So, well done.
That's great. Yes, that's great. Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, we will slide down to delegations. See a few folks here from Open Bible. So we have a delegation from Open Bible Church who is going to give a presentation on some land. So if you guys want to come down, and you've got 10 minutes, not including any questions from council. And council will just receive the presentation tonight. For sure. And it'll come back to a future council meeting for more discussion, and I'm sure we're going to have questions that come up after. Yeah, sure. Right, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Ted Monroe. I'm a member at Open Bible Church.
I'm Pastor Jeff Woodcock, and I've been serving at Open Bible Church for the last 19 years.
So we just wanted to say thank you. We appreciate the time tonight. We wanted to just basically inform you of our kind of current situation, give you a little bit of information on our church, and give you some insight into our future plans.
Okay, Bridgewater Open Bible Church was founded in 1981, so 43, almost 44 years ago. About 2016 or so, we started running out of space. We did several $100,000 expansion to gain more seating capacity and foyer space and different things within our assembly. Since that time, we are running out of space. But before I get to that, just who are we? We're a church that is grounded in the gospel. What we want to do is we want to teach and preach about Jesus Christ from the Word of God. And so we're helping people believe in Jesus Christ and belong to a loving Christian community and family. and we're helping them become strong disciples and build Christ's kingdom, and so that's our mission and vision. December 2023, we were growing in our Sunday morning capacity of people, and at that time we made the decision that we kind of needed for parking space. We're limited in parking space. We bought the property across the road from us back in 2014 and used that as a parking lot. But we were running out of parking space and seating space, so we went to 2 services. So currently, we've in the last year probably added about 80 or 90 people to our fellowship. On just yesterday, Sunday morning, in our 2 services, we had almost 400 people combined. So we're growing. We have in our weekly kids ministry, about 90 kids come, about 50 come to our youth group. We are running out of space for classrooms, for game facilities. We have asphalt for basically outside use is asphalt parking. We have no green space whatsoever. So all of that said, we care about this town. We care about the people of this town. They are our ministry. So we want to see people cared for well. We offer free marriage counseling, grief counseling services, young moms groups, addictions counseling. We give out all kinds of financial aid in gas cards, grocery gift cards. We help with oil bills and electric bills and sometimes car repairs and all kinds of things. We really do try to bless and help and encourage our community. We host free family fun days down on Shipyards Landing each year. I don't know if you've been to one of those or seen one of those. Hundreds of people come. Everything's free, all the burgers and hot dogs and all those things. We just want to love our community. We offer very inexpensive soccer camp in the summer. Yeah, my time's almost up. We got to run. Okay.
So why we're here? So the 2-service model that we moved to back in December of 2023 is working well for us. We're content continuing with that model, but we really are limited in growing our youth programs. So our youth ministries that happen throughout the week, Sunday Kids Church, and as well as our new Christian school that we started this year. We currently have 27 students enrolled, and we figure with our existing space we can only max out at 40. So that's why we're looking at an expansion program. Parking is also, as Pastor Jeff mentioned, even with the 2-service model, we have people that come to our second service that come early because they want to see people that are in the first service. So we have a bit of a mixing when we're trying to park everyone. So that is certainly leading to some challenges.
One interesting thing is a lot of young families are attracted to young families, and so we're actually seeing people move in from out of province and other parts of the province into the Bridgewater area because there's a strong, vibrant local church in their community with lots of kids ministry and programs for youth. And we are committing ourselves to helping the youth of the South Shore, but particularly Bridgewater. We want to see young people grow up in the context of faith and community, learn morals and godliness, and so that's what we're committed to.
So our request to the town. So we've been on a search for space for about the last year and a half. We've considered a bunch of properties. We've been working with your departments of economic development and planning. We assessed several properties, both that the town owns and other property that is privately owned. And we've kind of landed on the York Street property. If you're familiar, it's a 14-acre parcel that's in back of the LCLC. We think that it works really well, complements our existing ministries. We think it complements the area. It provides access to LCLC, skate park, daycare facility, as well as we looked at demographics as to where people live that go to our church. And we have people from as far as Hubbard's, Liverpool, Annapolis Royal that commute to our church. So we wanted to make sure that whatever location we picked was accessible. And this York Street property, in particular with the new Exit 12A development, has really really makes for good accessibility. We wanted to let you know that financially we're in a financially sound position. We're mortgage free on both of our properties. We've never been in a deficit budget position. We've got a very generous church membership, and we're very conservative with our finances. We're not going to overextend. We'll work with financial institutions on whatever kind of project that we undergo to make sure that we're able to fulfill those obligations. So next steps, in speaking with your departments, we understand that there may be some decisions that need to be made in relation to the Cooks Road connection to York Street. As well, we're aware that there needs to be a wastewater assessment and traffic assessment and a lot of things that we'll continue to have discussions with your departments in order to help us prepare a purchase and sale agreement for that property. I feel like we rushed through things. I know 10 minutes goes on fast. I am going to just throw up a concept drawing for you. This is the property. You'll see what we have kind of mocked up as a building, some parking space, and the green block there would be a soccer field that we would hope to install at some point in the future. So pending any questions, we certainly would be willing to meet with any of you outside of this meeting at any time, but we're certainly willing to answer any questions here today as well.
That's great. Thanks for your presentation. Questions from members of council? Deputy Mayor?
The road running through there, so obviously doesn't exist at this point. How important is that to you, or could it be a driveway into the property, or, is there flexibility?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of contingent, I think, on fire regulations, safety regulations. I think it would be convenient for there to be a through-fare road, but for our purposes, we'd be content with coming in off of the Cooks Road entrance. I think for safety, it's probably prudent to have another escape, but whether it's a full-service street is not a big concern for us.
And the visibility, I mean, your location right now is really visible. I live down the street, drive by, my daughter sees all the youth outside, and she said, I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So is visibility, this is much less visible. Does that affect
That's
your
right.
operation?
And so, I mean, the York Street entrance is much more visible. There's a lot of people down through there, 902 and all those things, going to the LCLC for sure. But the layout, the landscape of the land, we're not sure what that looks like. There's quite a mound there, and then there's a gully, and then back up on the other side and kind of down again. And so it would kind of have to be manipulated to meet the needs of a thoroughfare through there.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Other questions? Councillor Newell.
You mentioned you have 2 other properties. Do you have any thoughts? Are you keeping those, or are you going to liquidate them to help fund this project?
Good question. Thank you. We would plan to use the equity in those 2 properties. We have had some interest in the private sector in those properties. There's a huge residential complex going up there. As well, there's been interest from a developer looking at the property as a potential professional center. Very early conversations. We haven't dove into any of that, but we would intend to liquidate those for the equity that's there.
Other questions? I can see Councillor Caldwell's thinking. I know that more will come. That's why we usually have a gap between receiving the presentation and then coming to council. Councillor Vergier.
Yeah, I know you looked at other possible land pieces that may accommodate the new build. Do you have other top picks were they in town or outside of town, or do you wish to share those with us as well?
So we've looked at properties both inside and outside of town. Our preference would be to remain in the town, both for accessibility for the majority of our congregants. We have a lot of elderly people that are from the country that are moving to the town to be closer to the church. They there's programs going on at the church every night of the week, and a lot of these folks volunteer. So to take the church and move outside would be a little counterproductive, given they're moving into the town to be close. And some of the properties that we looked at were owned privately, and a lot of those developers just are non-responsive. And we're open if council has other properties that they think may work well. We're certainly open to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Conklin.
So your second property that you have, the lot, is that across the street, Exhibition Drive?
Yes,
Where-
it's known locally as the Dakin store.
Okay, okay.
That's the way it's most commonly referenced. So we purchased that when we were leading up to our expansion in 2016. We knew that we were able to add some space onto our building, but it didn't resolve our parking issue. So we added 100 more seats in our church. We still needed to park those folks, so we purchased that property across the road specifically for overflow parking.
Okay, thanks.
Deputy Mayor.
What kind of timeline are you looking at?
Great question.
It wasn't mine, Donna.
Go ahead. If you know.
Well, I don't know the answer to that question. That's a difficult one. I mean, I would love to say as soon as possible. We know that there's a process to all of this. So the quicker that we engage with you and engage with whoever we need to engage with on all of this, the better for us. But obviously there's money that will need to be raised, there's financial commitments to put in place and all of that. But we would be, like Ted said, we are financially capable of making those next steps. We just need to find a location and then start moving towards it. So that's kind of where this next step is for us. But
And we're looking at whether or not a phased approach works, where we install something that would accommodate the school and the children's ministry and leave our worship services in place. But it's tricky because we also are going to be depending on some of that equity that's in the current. So it depends on how those properties are liquidated and those types of arrangements. So it's fairly complex.
When you're saying in your, and I'm sorry if I've missed this in all of you that you've shared, when you're saying seeking a partnership approach with council, can you clarify what is it that specifically that you're hoping to partner on?
Well, we just want to be transparent in sharing information and working with council to make sure whatever arrangement it works for both the town and for the church.
Great.
Other questions?
No, I appreciate the questions. I welcome that.
No, it's great. Councillor Newell.
You guys very confident in the project, very exciting. I love it. Do you have a rough idea, or do you have initial estimates of like the cost of the project and probably what that gap is going to look like from, you know, what you might need to fundraise or you know, leverage to be able to fulfill this project? Yeah. It's okay if this is too early for that question.
Yeah. we do have some preliminary estimates. A lot of it depends on what somebody's willing to pay for our existing property. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a big unknown. We're looking at some ways to do a build where there can be a lot of participation from our own church membership. We have a healthy congregation and a very generous congregation. So, but we have done some preliminary numbers, and we think that we're good to proceed. I'll leave it at that.
Great. Anyone else? Hearing none? That's great. Thank you. Great detailed presentation, and thanks for answering our questions. And when we have more, we'll probably through Donna send those to you, and this will come back to council for more discussion.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Lots of people in the gallery today. Any other members of the public wish to speak on any other matters? Everyone everyone's here for just one topic. You can stay for the whole meeting if you want. It's super fun.
Funny how often that happens. Everybody comes for one thing.
Everyone always leaves.
They always laugh when you say that.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like after I give the closing prayer.
Thanks for coming. All right, so our next item is 5.1, which is public hearings. So, as you know, I will recess the regular council meeting, and we will open the public hearing. I'll note that all statutory requirements have been met, and we will go through the normal process of an overview by the planner, where council can ask questions of the planner. Any members of the public can comment. Presentation by the applicant is us, so good news, just one presentation. But with that, we'll turn it over to staff.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Mayor and Council. This evening we're discussing the amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to enable the growth and development of Exit 12A Business Park. This is the second consideration of these proposed amendments. And the recommendation, it is staff's recommendation that Council give second and final consideration to these proposed policy and bylaw amendments to facilitate the Bridgewater Business Park expansion per the concept development plan. In December 2024, the new interchange off Highway 103 was officially opened, opening 125 acres of developable town-owned lands. To effectively and appropriately plan for the expansion of the business park, a series of studies were conducted to achieve the best outcome, including the business retention and expansion analysis, the BDO zone analysis, retail market and accommodation gap analysis, the concept development plan, and the land appraisal update. To show the current situation, this is an excerpt from our existing future land use map in the area of the Exit 12A interchange. Currently, the industrial is the gray area, and the general commercial designation is the reddish brown within that gray area. Further, this is an excerpt of the existing zoning map with conceptual streets identified within the Exit 12A area. The current zoning is industrial M1 in gray and highway commercial C9 zone in black. And then the yellow would be the comprehensive residential R3 zone. As part of this amendment package, there are a series of proposed amendments to policies within the municipal planning strategy. There are several policies which support the changes staff are proposing. However, other policies will require amendments to align with the intention of the business park expansion. Staff proposed to exclude mixed residential commercial development within the C10 zone, add urban design requirements for both the C9 and C10 zones, and reference the master infrastructure plan within policy M4. Amendments are required throughout the MPS to establish a new designation, new zone, and further changes. This includes amendments to existing policy and the addition of new policies, those seen with an asterisk. The current highway commercial C9 zone is located within the general commercial designation. As part of these amendments, staff are proposing to add a new designation called the highway commercial designation. This proposed designation is designed to better accommodate the underlying zoning, which will cater to primarily highway-oriented uses. This is further aimed to discourage rezonings outside of the highway commercial designation, and the proposed designation would work towards council's strategic goals of highway commercial support services as well as supportive retail for employees. This is an excerpt of the proposed future land use map showing the proposed redesignation from general commercial to highway commercial, and that's shown in blue, and incorporates additional lands that were comprehensive residential towards King Street, the top of that image. Amendments to the land use bylaw are also required throughout the document to accommodate the C10 zone and changes to the C9 and M2 zones. The amendments outlined in this slide are proposed to better align the C9 and M2 zones with council's intentions and to incorporate the C10 zone in the various general requirements for things like signage, parking, fencing, etc. Other amendments proposed are the permission of shipping containers as a permanent structure in the C10, M1, and M2 zones, and the permission of small-scale wind turbines within the C9 and C10 zone. Within the planning documents, the highway commercial zone was renamed, is proposed to be renamed the highway service commercial C9 zone, and the highway display commercial, the highway display C10, highway display commercial C10 zone was added. Excuse me. For each of the zones, staff aligned the permitted uses, the development mechanisms, and zone standards with the results of the background studies and the strategic priorities of council. Oh, sorry, I went back there. My apologies. It's supposed to be on this slide. The newly proposed intention of the C9 zone is to facilitate development of service-based, high-turnover land uses in high-visibility areas from the 103. Urban design requirements were included to ensure that built form at the gateway of Exit 12A has a consistent and appealing design, and development mechanisms for this area are as of right and through site plan approval processes. The list of permitted uses in the C9 zone was amended to achieve the goals of the retail gap analysis by avoiding competition with existing commercial retail nodes, notably Exit 12 in Cookville and Bridgewater's downtown core. The sole change proposed to the C9 zone standards was the maximum front yard setback, the maximum, front yard requirement. This was aligned with the group commercial C4 zone standards, which currently permit many of the same uses permitted in the C9 zone. Moving to the C10 zone, the proposed intention of the zone is to facilitate development of display-oriented, low customer turnover land uses in lower visibility areas still adjacent to the Highway 103 within the gateway of the business park. As such, urban design requirements are proposed to reflect the area's importance as a commercial node, and similar to the C9 zone, development mechanisms are as of right and site plan approval processes. The list of permitted uses in the C10 zone aim to achieve the zone's intention of low customer turnover, display-oriented uses, with additional uses that may benefit to the proximity of the interchange. There are several new definitions which would be added to the land use bylaw through this amendment process. Those are identified with asterisks in this list. And for the zoning standards, those mirror those of the C9 zone. Further land use bylaw amendments were required to Section 7, industrial zones, and Section 11, definitions. Within the light industrial zone, the proposed amendments are intended to accommodate a wide range of industrial and commercial uses which work towards council's strategic goals of green and emission reducing industries, transportation support and logistics industries, and construction and contractor support services. This zone will feature as of right and site plan approval processes with development agreements reserved for uses that have the potential for land use conflicts. The list of proposed uses in the M2 zone is extensive and features a range of industrial and commercial uses. Many of those feature larger lot coverages, more intensive land uses, and may not benefit to the same extent as those uses within the C9 and C10 zones. Definitions for the following land uses were added or amended within the land use bylaw. Within the C9 and C10 zones, urban design requirements are proposed with the intention of developing a clear gateway to the Exit 12A business park. The urban design requirements clarify that the orientation of buildings must address both Enterprise Drive and Highway 103. There must be pedestrian infrastructure connections where applicable. Blank public facades are prohibited. However, there are exemptions available for those land use types that may not be able to accommodate blank or windowed facades. And buildings on corner lots shall emphasize their importance through various design features. I don't know where this slide is. Public participation meeting was held on May 7th. I don't know, can you see this slide?
No.
No, I'm not sure what's going on there. This is a public participation meeting slide for anyone who can't see. On May 7th, the PPM was held at Town Hall. There were 6 members of the public in attendance. The main topics of discussion were permitted uses, questions on the process, downtown versus business park uses, whether those should be in the downtown or the business park, and opportunities for the inclusion of renewable energies. Staff were receiving public comments until May 23rd, 2025, where we received 3 additional comments. 1, a request for bakery as a permitted use in the highway commercial zone. Family-style restaurants like Irving, Big Stop, other fast food restaurants, and large industry besides Michelin. And finally, a large conference center, visitor information center, indoor sports center, lots of uses there. Infrastructure considerations related to the proposed amendments are as follows. Firstly, infrastructure has been installed on phase 1, on a portion of phase 1, Enterprise Drive and Logan Road North, Logan Road. Capacity in the water treatment plant is limited in the near term. Approximately 57,000 liters a day of capacity has been reserved for the development in phase 1. The town is currently developing an offsetting policy and program. And finally, cost recovery will ultimately be determined by council prior to the sale of the lands. Finally, it is staff's recommendation that council give second and final consideration to the proposed amendments for the Bridgewater Business Park expansion.
Thanks, Connor. Questions from council? I know it's second reading. We had a bunch of questions in the first reading. Any questions, comments from council? No, well-detailed presentation. Again, this is second reading, so we did go through this in quite a lot of detail for first reading. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak? Just the mayor of the municipality district of Lunenburg hanging out. Where else would you rather be?
Yeah, just in case.
Did you have anything else to add, Connor?
That's everything from myself.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing else, I will close off and adjourn the public hearing. We'll return to open session of council. And I would ask, what is council's wish for this? So I'm prepared to make a motion. Councillor Caldwell.
I move the town council for the town of Bridgewater hereby conduct second and final reading of chapter 233, a bylaw to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, which make map and text amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to reflect the intention of the Exit 12A concept development plan as contained in appendices F, G, H, and I of document 25-120A.
Seconded by Councillor Wynot. Further discussion? I'll just add that this is an exciting kind of next step because we're moved closer to developing the land, and I like staff and council's thoughtful planning of this to not erode the core of the community. As you mentioned, the downtown, but also kind of the other sections of town that we don't want to turn people away from the downtown. So I do appreciate that. So we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We are down to 6.1. We have minutes from the July 14th regular council meeting. Any errors or omissions with those? Hearing none, motion to approve the minutes is circulated. Deputy Mayor Donald, seconded by Councillor Wynot. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We are down to business arising and unfinished business. So we have application withdrawal for 421 LaHave Street, which was, I think that's the mall proposal, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think that's...
So this was the development agreement application, yeah. So it's just advising council that the application has been withdrawn. So there will be no further action taken, obviously, by staff with respects to this.
Okay. Thank you. I know some will be disappointed on that. Councillor Conklin.
Do we know if there might be another application, maybe not as ambitious or something a little bit different from the same?
I don't think staff have been advised that there's an intention at this point to submit another application.
Yeah. My only conversation with them has been that
they are very proud of this property, and this does not mean that they're not doing anything in the future or kind of moving away from it. It's just that proposal wasn't going to move forward for whatever reason. So, yeah, I don't want people to read more into it than so good question. Then 10.2, information housing accelerator fund removal of the R1 zone.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here this evening to speak to the report for information that you received in regards to the removal of R1 zoning in priority areas. So this report for information serves as an initial step in identifying the phased removal of R1 or single unit residential zoning in priority areas throughout the town. The phased removal of R1 zoning in priority areas is identified as an initiative under the town's Housing Accelerator or HAF agreement, and CMHC has identified the advancement of this initiative as crucial for the continued receipt of HAF funding for the town of Bridgewater. So why removal of R1 zoning? Smart growth is identified as a key planning principle within the town's guiding planning documents, and this encourages the maximization of existing municipal infrastructure while promoting equitable and affordable housing. Removal of R1 or single unit residential zoning in priority areas directly supports these smart growth goals and objectives by enabling more efficient land use patterns and housing diversity. We also know that Bridgewater is currently experiencing housing challenges that mirror national trends. In our 2023 housing needs report that we received, it was identified that we saw a median housing price increase of 69% from 2019 to 2022, and that about 67% of local households earned an income below what would be needed to purchase the median home in 2022. Creating an affordability gap for many residents. We also know that as of 2021 census, that 14% or 570 of the town's households lived in core housing need, meaning they were spending more than 30% of their income on their housing. Their housing was not of a suitable size and was in need of repair, and they could not access an adequate alternative within the town. So we're certainly seeing those housing pressures, and R1 zoning in some ways enabling higher densities can help support broader housing options. So what does R1 zoning currently look like within the town? The town currently contains 1,886 R1 zone properties where single unit dwellings are permitted as of right. Within the R1 zone, conversions of dwellings built prior to August 27th, 1975 to 2 units is currently allowed. This date represents the introduction of the first land use controls in Bridgewater. Currently, these regulations create inequity where housing diversity depends on building age rather than infrastructure capacity or community need. And pre-1975 properties can accommodate 2 units while newer properties cannot, regardless of actual capacity or suitability. So of those pre-1975 properties within the town, 60 of them, or approximately 6%, are known to have 2 units, and many remain as single unit dwellings despite the conversion allowance. This does indicate that removal of R1 zoning in priority areas is unlikely to trigger immediate mass conversion, and that conversions would likely happen as market demand kind of drives those. You'll see in figure 1 of your report, we've identified where within our R1 zones we have those pre and post 1975 properties currently. So staff are considering criteria for how we might prioritize and phase this proposed zoning change. Planned infrastructure investment and the 10-year capital plan will largely inform this phased approach. And the following high-level phasing strategy is being proposed with the intention of supporting a systematic implementation while maintaining our infrastructure capacity. So in the near term, we'd look at priority areas with current infrastructure capacity. In the medium term, we'd look to secondary areas requiring minor infrastructure improvements, and over the long term, remaining areas subject to infrastructure upgrades and long-term community development planning would be considered. And based on a comprehensive review of the town's MPS and LUB, the following criteria have been drafted to help identify priority areas. We would look, again, mainly at infrastructure capacity and efficiency, as well as transportation network accessibility and proximity to commercial and service areas. When considering the removal, it is likely that appropriate alternatives would be the R2 zone, or a 2-unit residential, as well as the comprehensive residential R3 zone for select properties where higher infrastructure capacity might be possible. So process and next steps. Over the summer and into the early fall, staff are completing draft amendments to the MPS and LUB and other supporting documents to facilitate this change. September to October, we'll be looking to do public consultation and stakeholder engagement in regards to those drafted amendments. And then November through December, community feedback will be incorporated into final draft MPS and LUB amendments, and then these amendments will be brought forward to council for consideration. So before you tonight, the recommendation is just that council receive this report for information with community engagement activities and council consideration of MPS and LUB amendments to follow from September to December of 2025.
Thanks, Eric. Questions from council? Any comments? Obviously, this is going to come back after some engagement, but anything off the top of your heads? No? That's great. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Down to 10.3, easement agreement between the province of Nova Scotia and the town of Bridgewater. It's before us.
So this one is, should be relatively straightforward, might have just jinxed it, but the council had directed staff to enter into an agreement of purchase and
We're going to be like
sale.
45 minutes on this one
I
now.
know. In October. And we had been working towards that, the acquisition of that land. It was for the development of 21 units being added to the existing Pineview apartments. And it was a project that was being undertaken by the province. During their design, they identified that they require an easement across town land in the back. There's a map in the report that shows the location of that. That easement would be required for utility installations, so sewer and water. And normally we would have a survey showing the easement location, but they're still kind of in the design phase for how the addition of the building is going to be placed. And for that reason, they can't really narrow it down. So we would be accepting an easement, or the granting of an easement in an area that would be agreed to by the municipal engineer as required for the installation of services. So it would be something subject to the engineer's approval to say that they'll work in that location. And it would be the width required for utilities to be installed. So what we're looking for tonight is council's agreement to authorize the execution of an easement agreement that would enable the installation or facilitate the installation of those utilities to the 21 units being proposed.
Great. And just a reminder also for the public, because this was announced a long time ago,
Yeah.
some of these are deeply affordable units, geared to income, I believe. Can't remember how most. I think we don't have those details. I
No.
know that there's certainly some that are
yeah.
Considered deeply affordable, so much needed. So that's the parcel, if you remember the announcement that we had like a year ago.
Yep, off of Exhibition Drive, yeah.
Can't remember what day it was, but I remember it was like the deputy CAO was like first week on the job, dragging him to some announcement. Fun. But it's council's wish. Councilor Newell, thank you.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater direct the CAO to execute the easement agreement as shown in document 24-178D between the Town of Bridgewater and the Province of Nova Scotia Department of Growth and Development over Town of Bridgewater land property PID 605-33932 to permit servicing for the planned housing development on PID 600-32356.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Vergier. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Down to 10.4, first reading for 1233 King Street. Some MPS and LUB changes from R1 to R5. Good evening, Santa.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. This is the first reading presentation for proposed amendments to the MPS and LUB concurrently regarding 1233 King Street. Staff received an application to develop a multi-unit residential building at 1233 King Street on a 0.8 acre lot through a concurrent redesignation, rezoning, and a development agreement application. The applicant is requesting map amendments to the MPS to redesignate the property from low-density residential to medium-density residential. This redesignation would enable a rezoning from single-unit residential R1 to medium-density residential R5. At the initiation stage, the applicant proposed redesignating the property from low-density residential to high-density residential, which would allow rezoning from R1 to R6 and enable development of a 22-unit residential building through a development agreement application. This would be a major change in zoning and wastewater discharge, and the evaluation, highly based on downstream wastewater capacity assessment, highlighted the proposed 22-unit development would exceed capacity in sewershed number 7, even though there were thought at that time to be potential offsetting opportunities that needed further testing. And because of these infrastructure constraints and alignment with the current policy and the strategic priorities, Council did not initiate the requested amendments shifting from R1 to R6. However, to keep the door open for the development that respects infrastructure limit and surrounding context, staff proposed an alternative, medium-density residential. And redesignation rezoning to medium-density residential, and Council did initiate the process to consider the alternative option for the planning analysis. A development agreement is required due to the proposed multi-unit residential building, as the applicant wishes to pursue a DA to accommodate a considerable number of units in the future. And under R5 zoning, up to 4 units would be permitted as of right, and up to 5 units may be considered under special conditions. And based on the lot size, the maximum number of units through a development agreement would be 15 units. So this application involves 3 main components. First, it proposes a redesignation, an amendment to the municipal planning strategy to redesignate the property from low-density residential to medium-density residential. Second, it seeks the amendment to the land use bylaw by rezoning the site from R1 single-unit residential to medium-density residential. And these changes are intended to enable in the future a development agreement that would allow the construction of a multi-unit residential. So this presentation mainly focuses on municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw amendments. And if the application is approved at this stage, next stage would be reviewing development agreement. So that will begin. At that point, we will hold a separate public participation meeting to present more detailed information about the proposed multi-unit residential building. In terms of context, to the west, the property is next to other single-unit residential lots, and to the south, it borders an industrial zone property. To the north, it's adjacent to a park zone along LaHave River. And on the east side, across Logan Road, there are more single-unit residential properties. When we zoom out a bit, we can see that the area is mainly made up of low-density residential uses with some industrial lands nearby. So in overall, the applicant is proposing the change in land use from low density to medium density and rezoning from single unit residential to medium density residential. A full policy analysis has been completed as the planning analysis report, and staff explored what potential amendments could look like. Based on the policy analysis, the proposed MPS amendments appear to have sufficient support from the existing municipal policy. According to MPS, areas designated as medium density residential on the map to future land use map are intended to support moderate density residential development, and the goal of this designation is to enable compact and more affordable housing options that meet diverse needs of the community. Importantly, the medium density residential allows council to consider medium to high density development through a DA. And this aligns well with the applicant's proposal, offering both the flexibility and policy support required. So there are two zones associated this designation, medium density residential. The downtown residential R4, which applies to lands, residential lands near the downtown core on the west side of the LaHave River, and the medium density residential R5 zone, which is intended to support new medium density development, such as contemporary townhouses, especially in the strategic areas on the west side of the town. So because of the property's close proximity to exit 12A, the business park, and Michelin, it's reasonable to consider the 1233 King Street as a potential site to support a shift from low density to a medium density residential use. And because the R4 zone is typically used for lands right next to the downtown core, so the R5 offers a more suitable and context-based, context-sensitive option in this case. And R5 finds a good balance. It allows for more housing while still respecting the limits of our infrastructure and fitting in with the look and feel of the neighborhood. So the proposal receives full support from several policies in the municipal planning strategy, including IM1, IM2, IM3, R2, R3, R4, and R28, and partial support from policy R9. If the applicant moves forward with a DA to build a multi-unit residential building, additional policies such as R5, R8, R30 will be considered in more detail. The proposal is also compatible with the overall objectives of the municipal planning strategy, especially in terms of minimizing land use conflict, which is addressed through vegetated buffer and setback requirements, and promoting mixed and compatible land uses, which this proposal achieves by introducing a residential use within an already residentially zoned area. So this aligns with objective number 3 of the MPS, which supports a full range of housing options, and this proposal contributes to that goal by introducing a multi-unit residential development. Based on the applicant's engineering assessment, the subject property is currently serviced by 100 millimeter sanitary lateral installed at an approximately slope of 2% that can accommodate up to 240 fixtures. This is equivalent to approximately 22 residential units. This is based on the assumption that each unit includes a kitchen and no more than one bathroom, and so parking has been excluded from this analysis. The proposed development on a lot that has historically accommodated a single unit dwelling represents a significant increase in land use intensity. And because of this, and since the proposal is an MPS amendment, staff asked the applicant to provide downstream wastewater capacity assessment. And the DWCA indicates that the existing pipe in sewer shed 7 becomes over capacity with the additional flow from the proposal. So the offsetting solution has come up to help mitigate peak weather flows within sewer shed 7 and down to the nearest pump station, and such can be a requirement in a DA. But offsetting may be challenging in this case due to the relatively small size of the sewer shed. And on the other hand, the viability of offsetting solution was contingent upon smoke testing. And during the June 9 council meeting, the CAO indicated that the smoke testing would be carried out within 1 to 2 months. So the engineering staff prioritized that, and the smoke testing was conducted earlier than expected on June 27. So offsetting, I would like just here explain about offsetting. It's a way to make sure the sewer system doesn't get overloaded when new buildings are added. It works like before adding new wastewater from a development, the same system needs to remove extra rainwater or stormwater that's already getting in. And to keep things balanced, the role is for every 1 part of new wastewater, the developer must remove 2 parts of stormwater from the system. This helps free up space in the pipes and protects the system from flooding and backups. The result of a smoke testing effectively limit development to a maximum of 5 units. Which must be pursued through an as-of-right application within the proposed R5 zone. And this brings the related pipe reaching 99.7% capacity. However, the engineering staff emphasize that the best practice discourages approving developments that exceed 95% of modeled capacity. And moreover, pump station number 7 experienced an overflow for the first time last year, highlighting the need to remain cautious and maintain a buffer to prevent future sewer overflow incidents. A public participation meeting was held on July 2, and the meeting was attended by 1 member of the public and the applicant, and there were no additional comments or concerns, and no further discussion of the application took place. So as a conclusion, the property at 1233 King Street can support a 5-unit as-of-right development under the proposed medium-density residential zoning, but cannot accommodate any additional units, whether through a site plan approval or a development agreement. The singular offsetting opportunity identified via the smoke testing will be carried out by town with the wastewater betterment charges. While acknowledging the current limitation to 5 units, staff recognize that rezoning to the R5 zone would help future development opportunities open when additional sewer capacity becomes available. In alignment with applicable policies, staff remain supportive of the overall proposal and acknowledge that this zoning from a density intensification standpoint, provides a stronger planning context and a solid foundation for the developer to potentially expand the project in the future, enabling greater density and a higher number of dwellings over time to meet the community housing needs. So staff have identified this recommended option for Town Council to consider approve the map amendments to redesignate the subject property to medium density residential and rezone to medium density residential zone, R5 zone, and schedule a public hearing during a regular council meeting on September 8th. Thank you.
Thanks, Santa, for your presentation. Just a couple of questions that I have. So, would on-site treatment not be an option? And if it is an option, like, I'm just confused by the wording of where it said, like, we can't pursue more than 5 units, either with the, even with the DA.
So that's with the more than 5 units with the existing wastewater system capacity. We have amended our sewer bylaw to enable the consideration of on-site sewage disposal. So if the applicant does wish to go that route and is able to get the approval of the Nova Scotia Department of Environment, because they're the authority having jurisdiction over on-site, then we would obviously have him proceed with the development agreement application to do up to the 15 units that the zone would allow by development agreement. So 5 as of right, and our sewer system can handle it. If he wishes more and he wants to explore on-site, and it's possible, then a development agreement would come forward.
Okay, so just so where it says the subject property cannot accommodate any additional units, neither by site plan approval nor by DA, should also say unless an approved
yes,
on-site.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I thought there was a way to get to the 15 with that. Councilor Fisher.
I forgot to remove myself
Oh.
for conflict of interest, so my apologies for that.
Okay. Well, you would have heard the same presentation from over there. So thank you, Deputy Mayor.
If that were the wish, are you saying that the development agreement process has to start all over again?
It hasn't started yet, so
Okay.
the zone amendments are required first, so the amendments that
Right.
Santa presented
Gotcha.
tonight.
Yeah.
And then if the applicant wishes to go beyond the 5, the zone changes will enable that to be done by development agreement, so that would be the second part. Yeah.
And that's why another public hearing is that, because of that second process?
Nope. The public hearing that we're doing in September is to do second and final, to pre-consideration of second and final reading of these amendments. He was here at the last meeting for a different, he requested the R6 zone, and council denied that, so that brought it back to the R5 zone for first consideration tonight, public hearing September 8th, and then second consideration. And then if he does a DA, then it's a whole new process of notice of intention and then public hearing.
But at least the zoning is then appropriate for the project that he
That's
wants
right.
to do.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So it makes sense, the timelines.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilor Newell.
He initially came for 22 units. If he wanted to do on-site and he got approval for that, could he then come back and say, actually, I would love to do R6 and get the 22 units that he actually wanted?
Then we'd have to rezone it again, right?
Yeah, well, remember, because we had this whole
Yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
So we
with
could
smoke
go
testing.
through the whole process again
Yeah.
if he
Okay.
if he wanted.
If he
Yep.
wanted to.
Yep. Yeah.
So but
He would be required to have the bylaw and the policy change to support that, and council would have to consider that. So the applicant is aware that we are considering bringing forward to council tonight for consideration the R5.
Right.
So was always the option to ask for the R6, but it's a matter, I'm not too sure what the results of any assessment for on-site sewage disposal have been.
Right.
So, yeah.
Other questions or comments? Councilor Caldwell.
I guess why is the recommendation to approve the 5-unit development when it brings the pipe to 99.7% capacity when 95 is the recommended best practice?
The 99.7?
Yeah.
No, the best practice is about 95%.
Right.
Yeah, and so we like the 5 units is based on we are keeping the buffer like that, buffer in our sewer system. So it's just with the safety to say 5 units. This is what I mean.
That, I'm not sure I understand the
Yeah,
buffer.
So it does say 5-unit development brings the pipe to 99.7% capacity. Is that before offsetting? Is that why?
That's with the offset.
Was that
Yeah,
with
that's
the
with the
offsetting?
offsetting.
Yeah.
So I think Councillor Colwell's question is, if best practice is to keep it at 95% or below, then why are we recommending going to 99%?
Yeah.
I would like just to
So
ask this.
I think some of it has to do with the fact
Yeah.
that it is theoretical calculations. So it's based on a formula as opposed to actual. But I'll let the engineer.
That was totally get of this.
Good job.
Should have walked slower.
So there are there's very few best practices for offsetting at this point. So we are referring to the HRM that has 80% and 90% depending on the type of analysis done. But given that the town of Bridgewater doesn't have a policy in place at this point, and it is theoretical in nature, given the few that we've been dealing with thus far, I feel it's okay at this point. Not ideal, but okay.
Risk is low.
Yes, the risk is low.
Okay. Thank you for asking that question. That was good one. Councillor Newell?
This is more of a formula question. So I think your presentation said it like that unit could, what was it, 240 like fixtures over that was hypothetically over 22 units, right? So that comes out to about 10.9 fixtures per unit. I'm just wondering what that accounts for, because that just seems like a weird math. Yeah, so like 240 divided, I know this is very specific, that comes to 10.9 fixtures per unit. Like what fixtures are those? Because I'm like I come to 5, I have like 2 sinks, a toilet, a bathroom. You know what I'm saying though? I'm just trying to understand this. I'm sorry, the mayor is smirking at me.
No, I'm listening.
Okay,
That's a good question.
It's actually a very good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's based on the applicant's engineering analysis. So we just.
So the answer is we don't know. This is just what they wanted.
Still, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't know.
I would love to get an answer from that at some point, but anyway, that's a.
I feel like Matt has an answer.
Yeah. Does Matt have an answer?
You need a better poker face.
We're dabbling into the building and plumbing code.
Yeah, okay.
It isn't something that engineer would comment on, but Sam is right in terms of their design engineer did provide this information to us, so it must be based on what they are suggesting for their client. However, it would be founded in the building and plumbing code. Okay. That's the best I can give you at this point.
No.
And after that, I'd give you trouble.
Some light reading tonight is what Matt's telling me.
Yeah. No. It's good to know.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Councillor Conklin.
So we're talking about pump station number 7?
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess, do we know of any other potential future developments in the area that may need to look at hooking up to number 7? Like, have there been any tire kickers in the past? And
That's a good question, but I am not really
That
sure
would be
about that.
probably
Yeah.
more of a question for our economic development officer.
Yeah.
If she's, and then we have to figure out if it links to that pump station. So
sewer shed 7 is a really small sewer shed. So there's not a lot of opportunity in there.
It's a small sewer shed.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't give you a list of the tire kickers at this point anyway, because they're just that, they're tire kickers if they are. And right now our process is, case by case basis. So at this point, as engineering has said, it is the theoretical limits that we've been sort of, that this is showing that we're getting up against. We're looking at how, if something were to come forward, then we'd be assessing that one as it does on that case-by-case basis until we get sort of a broader program in place to look a bit more holistically.
okay, thank you.
Does that essentially mean we know we have to say no from the get-go? It's not assessed case by case?
Depends on what it is. It's really hard. There's a multitude of different scenarios that could happen. Is it a tear down and rebuild? Is it less wastewater?
because
There's too many questions for me to give you a real answer.
It is case by case because
Case by case.
there could be offsetting measures that meet the requirements. It could be on-site again. They propose an on-site. So I don't think we would ever say no from the get-go unless a developer was unwilling to meet some of those. Yeah. Other questions? Councilor Conklin?
So I noticed that the piece of land across King Street is vacant and it's town-owned. It's like half a gravel turnabout and some trees. Does the town have any ideas if we're possibly gonna do anything with that piece of land there?
Across the street on King Street?
Yeah,
Like on the riverside?
Lave
It's
Riverside.
parkland.
What's the park called?
Right around the trail.
Gravel?
That's,
No, it's
no,
part
it's
of
part of the long linear park. I
that we
believe that's
that we
river.
lease from the province. That one.
Nope, that's the next one down.
Next one.
Star
Street to
Where's it go?
give or take on that side.
Yeah. Is that Tannery Park?
Yeah, so.
Glenwood
Stars-
Mills Park, maybe?
Yeah.
Glenwood Mills
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah.
So, according to our map on Explore Bridgewater, that is, that's closer to, what street is that? Between Brown and Fancy Road. And yeah, so it meanders north along King, and then we hit that other park just short of Parkview. But according to property online, let me see, that PID that ends at the Centennial Trail.
Right, and then on the other side, I believe that's the provincially owned land that we lease, that is River
Yeah.
View Park.
Yeah.
So that's, okay, well,
Are you asking in terms of if there was going to be development on it?
it
or-
looks pretty useless right now. Like it's literally like one of those areas that you see on the county line where salt trucks used to turn to stay within Lunenburg County, or snow plows. So it's like a big gravel kind of, or dirt area with trees and whatever else, I don't know. It's, what are we looking at?
There are no plans at this
It's about 2
time.
acres altogether.
So, to answer the original
Yeah.
question, no plans at this time for development as it is part
Yeah,
of the
okay.
open space network.
I'm just wondering if this would be something for one of those modular.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
should have led with that.
But the modular treatment facilities. Hmm.
Too
Yeah.
close?
There's a lot of study that has to go into that. Outfall location, yeah.
Yeah, you know what though? I think we should look at that. Matt's back there going, I'm not looking up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, I think right now, Matt has just indicated that it's mainly used for gravel and snow removal storage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we put snow.
and gravel.
Wastewater is more important.
Okay.
But I like where you're going with that. Other questions, staff? Don't forget, this is coming back for public hearing, second reading, public hearing in September. So if you do have more questions, you can ask those then, or you can, through the CAO, send those to staff. So if there's no other,
Yeah, I'll just ask one more question. So, since the lot's limited to the 5 units regardless because of the water capacity, right? So again, hypothetically, the proponent can come back and say, I actually like R6. I'm restricted either way, or I can get approved, right?
I think during the initiation, during the initiation step, we considered other components because wastewater capacity is one factor, and the others are our policy and priority in strategies. So and it's so this application has been done with that process. If as it's open, with the development agreement with the on-site septic, we can the applicant can go back and do the same. But other factors has been included in about this application, about the R6 during the initiation report.
So I think when staff originally presented the report at the last meeting, there were other factors that had to be considered in your policy analysis. So some of that had to do with the contextual piece. How did it fit into that area. And staff had concluded that the R6 wasn't contextually a fit for that area in terms of the density and the policy support that you have in your document that state that denser development needs to be closer to the downtown core. Now, that's staff's analysis. Council does not have to agree with that, and council may very well say that you feel the policy is met. So if the applicant does decide at some point that they want the more dense residential land use and they have the on-site sewage disposal approval to do so, then they can certainly make that request back to council for R6, and council at that time, staff will present all that criteria to you again, and then you can determine whether or not you feel the policies are met or the criteria is met.
I appreciate that context, because I think in a community where we know we want housing, I appreciate the zoning. I personally think a multi-unit would fit fine in that area. And looking for a proponent, hypothetically, if they wanted to pay for that on-site septic, I think a lot of developers wouldn't. So if they wanted to, I think it just makes sense to allow that development. But that is, I see a couple of nines, that's my opinion. Sorry.
If I could just also add, one of the challenges when it comes to the wastewater capacity for that site within Sewer Shed 7 is that the as of right capacity, so we could rezone to R6 with I intend to have a development agreement with an on-site system, but then it will be zoned and they can go in and get a permit for the as of right permissions that would put it over 100% capacity in that section of pipe. So that was a strong part to why at this point, after further analysis, we looked at what the as of right can do, but if they're on an on-site system, then that's a different situation. But just for those.
Yeah, so Jen.
Sorry, because so are they not still limited though based on the wastewater, like the actual capacity, like of the pipe?
Yes.
They are. Okay.
Yes.
So I think that's just what I'm confused with, because they're restricted to 5 units if they want to connect to the pipe, regardless if they're R5, R6, or.
The issue is that we're saying you can go ahead and build, and then if we say R6, the as of right is 12 or something like that.
The as of right is higher, and there's an existing lateral with the existing building that could accommodate a higher flow.
Sure.
So the site
So
would have
they
to
would
change.
not be requesting a new service.
Right.
Sorry, we're falling down into things that are very detailed, but it wouldn't necessarily, we wouldn't necessarily be able to prevent that.
I appreciate the detail.
Going over the
It's
100%
just information
threshold.
that I definitely need to understand, given how complex the situation is.
It is complex.
Yeah.
Okay, so are there any other questions? No? Is someone prepared to make a motion? And again, if the applicant wants, he can come back and ask for R6 and we reconsider down the road. Councilor Caldwell?
I move the town council for Town of Bridgewater hereby conduct first reading of Chapter 232, a bylaw to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to concurrently redesignate the property at 1233 King Street, PID 600200948, from low-density residential designation to the medium-density residential designation, and to rezone from single-unit residential zone to medium-density residential zone on the future land use map and zoning map, respectively, as shown in appendices B and C of document 25-092B, and schedule a public hearing for the September 8th, 2025 council meeting.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Conklin. Further discussion? Had a good one. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. And we'll welcome Councilor Frazier back. And we already did our public hearing, so we're down to new business. And this is just notice of intention for affordable housing pre-construction grant program.
Yep, so this would be considered at the next council meeting in September. And council was presented basically the content of this at the discussion session last Monday night. And this is part of our commitment under the Housing Accelerator Fund to look at a grant program that will help assist nonprofit organizations with pre-construction cost to explore the feasibility of the development of affordable housing. So again, staff will do a detailed presentation at the next council meeting And this is just giving you notice.
Perfect. Is someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Newell, thank you.
Yes, I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater give notice pursuant to Section 48 of the Municipal Government Act that at the September 8th, 2025 Council meeting, Council will consider the Affordable Housing Pre-Construction Grant Program policy as outlined in document number 23-110F.
Thank you. Seconded by
someone.
Most people. Councillor Caldwell. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Down to 11.2, recommendation to the Audit Committee, appointment of citizen at large. Did you want to speak to it or just straightforward?
Pretty straightforward, yep. We have a vacancy on the Audit Committee for our citizen at large member, and so the Audit Committee considered the recommendation of staff. There was one applicant, but the applicant does have the financial background that would complement an Audit Committee, and therefore the Audit Committee is recommending the appointment of Malcolm Pittman to the Audit Committee.
Yeah, good choice. Yeah, Councillor Wynant.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater endorse the recommendation of the Audit Committee and appoint Malcolm Pittman as the citizen at large representative on the Audit Committee effective August 11th, 2025 to October 31st, 2028.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Frazier. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And recommendation from the Audit Committee for approval of new terms of reference.
Okay, so Council has a terms of reference for the Audit Committee that was developed in 2017. And since that time, the FRAM, the Financial Records and Accounting Manual, was updated to require a bit more context to the responsibilities and accountabilities of an Audit Committee. And so what our Director of Finance had recommended to the Audit Committee is that we revise those terms of reference to be more consistent with what's required under the FRAM. So the new requirements include a requirement for the Audit Committee, or make it clear that the Audit Committee has the responsibilities around financial reporting, the external audit, appointing the auditor and working with the auditor, the accounting system and internal controls to ensure they're in place, not direct them, but to ensure they're in place. Risk management from a financial perspective, to consider any alleged wrongdoing that may occur as part of internal controls or financial reporting, and any other statutory and regulatory responsibilities required under the FRAM or the Municipal Government Act. The Audit Committee is also required to do some training, so that's also included in there, that they would attend training. And the FRAM also requires that the terms of reference be reviewed following the next meeting following a regular election. So that was done in 2023. So if Council agrees with the terms of reference and approves the revisions to it, or the revised terms of reference, this would be reviewed again after the next municipal election.
Any questions, Council? Talked about it last week. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Frazier, thank you.
Yes, Your Worship. I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater endorse the recommendation of the Audit Committee, approve the new terms of reference for the Audit Committee as presented in document 25-129.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Newell. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We're down to the fun one. This is going to be award of tender 25-08B LaHave Street intersection.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Based on the 25-26 capital budget that was approved, we tendered this project, and it closed July 16th. We received one bid for the LaHave Street Aberdeen Road intersection improvements project. Fortunately, that one bid was compliant and within budget. So I'm hoping that we can recommend, or I recommend approval of that today. The project does align with Council's strategic priorities for infrastructure renewal, active transportation, public safety, and some more specifics. It includes full intersection upgrade, including larger traffic islands, some of them quite substantially, upgraded traffic signal infrastructure, new pedestrian crossings with tactile indicators, sidewalk and curb realignments, stormwater and utility adjustments, as well as pavement rehabilitation and landscaping. The most notable thing would be the added queue lane coming across the bridge from LaHave Street. So again, hoping that we can award that. And that was to Dexter Construction, sorry.
Yep.
With a total budget of $1,062,187 and 8 cents net HST.
Thank you. Councillor Conklin.
Does this include sensors for the traffic lights?
So it would be fully actuated, yeah, so, yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Yeah.
His one request.
Yeah.
Santa came this summer.
That's a good answer. And as you noted, the longer turn lane to turn, just for people's frame of reference, coming down Silver's Hill along LaHave and making it right onto the new bridge.
That's right, yeah.
Which now, if there's more than 2 cars going straight, you can't make the right-hand turn. So this will dramatically help that. So I noticed the construction timeline is it's not great. It has to be done by mid-December.
That's right, yeah, they did sign off that they thought that they could still get that work done. We all know about the ongoing project currently on Veterans Bridge.
Yeah.
It is a different contractor. They will need to work together. Shouldn't be something they're not familiar with in other places like Halifax.
Yeah, it just makes for a long construction season, but at the same time, like I say to people, you can't complain about the condition of something and then complain about when we're improving the condition of something. So it will be painful, but when it's done, it's done. And we don't have to look at this thing for a long, long time. So short-term pain for very long-term gain. And coming in under budget is, I don't remember that happening too often, so.
And this would also, that reminds me, be subject to PSC and RAB, I believe they're now called.
Utility review.
Yeah.
Right, I think they're called Regulatory Affairs Board
yes,
now, though.
Whatever they've split off to.
Yes, yeah. Sorry, it would be subject to their approval as well.
Any other questions on this? Councillor Wynot?
I believe I've asked this before, but I can't remember the answer. Do we typically build a buffer into these things just for the unforeseen? that could happen?
Contingencies?
A contingency, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, with our Class Ds and Class As, there's contingencies built in there. But we've been blown out of the water on different projects in the past as well, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately, in this case, it did come in under budget for the town.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion, Councillor Newell. Well, I was quick with the hand.
Sorry, right? You told me sugar. It's crazy. I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater award tender number 25-08E, LaHave Street and Aberdeen Road intersection improvements to Dexter Construction Company Limited for a total cost of $1,062,187.08 net HST, or $1,165,923.60 full HST, subject to PSC and Nova Scotia Regulatory and Appeals Board approval.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Frazier. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, over to 11.5 to the CAO for strategic priorities update and report.
Riveting report on our actions for the first quarter of this fiscal year. So these are from April to the end of June 2025. So I'm just going to go over council's priorities. Attached to this report is also the Q1 reports for all departments as well. So if you have any questions with respects to any of the activities within there, we can do our best to answer them now, or we'll get you the answer if we don't have it now. So during the last quarter, with Exit 12A, council approved the phase 1 site concept, and so our MPS amendments, which were targeted for the second quarter, actually we just did second reading of them tonight, so we're ahead a bit on that. And work continues on the marketing and the land sales parameters piece of it. Those are due at the end of this quarter or in quarter 3. Wastewater capacity, council during the first quarter received a report from engineering with respects to some of the modeling and the condition assessment with respects to our collection and our treatment system. So those were received, and we will be looking at our capital plan to incorporate some of those upgrades in there. Regional Growth Management, council approved the draft terms of reference that was presented to them in the first quarter, and we actually have a committee meeting tomorrow day to consider the material that will be presented on kind of the growth pressures and how we plan for growth within each unit. Transportation Master Plan, we delivered on that in the first quarter of this year, actually, which was to go over the intersection and crosswalk improvements that have been identified in our 10-year capital plan. Energize Bridgewater, during the first quarter, council got an update with respects to what's next now that our funding program is coming to an end in March 2026. So council gave some direction with respects to the community navigation and the home upgrade program. And we'll finalize that, I believe it's in the third quarter, or the end of the second quarter, actually, that the report is due for council. And staff are working on finding some options for those two programs. Marketing levy, that is going to come a little later in this fiscal year in terms of what to do with the revenue that we get from the marketing levy. So Donna will be bringing forth that plan in the fourth quarter. Flood risk mitigation, we finalized second reading of the planning strategy amendments to update our flood risk or mitigation planning when we looked at elevations and where to implement measures through our planning documents. Development charges, we didn't get to do much on those, if anything, in the last quarter, but we have been talking at the management level, the strategic leadership level, about how to move that item forward because it is very complex. So we're looking at a proposal there to get some help with drafting the scope of work, because it's making sure we ask for the right thing to get the right thing, and that's where we may need to bring in some outside expertise. Housing action plan, there's been lots of work done on that in the last quarter. So Sarah and Jessica brought forth the action and timelines. Tonight you received notice of the grant program, and you also received notice that we're starting the NPS and LUB amendments to look at how we can provide the foundation or incentivize affordable and attainable housing in town. Public transit, we are working with the District of Lunenburg at looking at some options there for the extension of transit and to a few key locations just outside in the perimeter of town. Council authorized a request to the what's called now, the regulatory
Review
Jonathan board to have an advance ruling on that. So we are looking at that and doing some trial runs there. Operations review, the scope of work's been complete. The RFP has been out. It's been awarded just today. So the work should start on that in the second quarter and third quarter. And I would note that that is going to be a chunk of work that has to be done. The consultants have to get it out of us in order to do that work. So we anticipate second and third quarter and fourth that will have some pressures on staff. And then parks planning. We did bring forth the parks improvement plan to council in the first quarter, and we got some direction from council with respects to hosting a workshop this fall on that. So staff will be bringing that forward. And we do also anticipate the GAP revised plan coming forward as well to council. If not, it has Q4, but I think we might be targeting Q3 on that one. Okay. And the rest of them are longer term things with the asset management. I know that Sam is working on the 1 to 3 year work plan and looking at software right now. And the EV public infrastructure strategy, those are things that have not yet really had a lot of movement on them. They're targeted for Q3.
Okay. Questions from the CEO, Councilor Conklin?
Transportation master plan. So from there, with respect to the crosswalk improvements, traffic calming, we go to near the end, I guess, condition assessment, development, I guess I know the master plan has been completed, but what is involved in trying to get crosswalk improvements bumped up the list?
Okay.
So I know that we're kind of on a timeline of 1 to 2 every year. I think we have 2 now in town, one on York and the other one on Jubilee. Town of Lunenburg, for example, they have 11 crosswalks with the LED lights.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So,
With the
I
low,
mean-
with the low ones, you mean, right? The
Solar powered.
Rapid flashing.
Yeah, exactly. The same thing that we have installed now on Jubilee and on York.
Okay.
So, and you know, we try to promote active living and active transport. Da 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 da. I would like to see us get a lot more than 1 or 2 a year completed.
So I believe we had this maybe at the discussion session where we talked about, is there a way to do like 15, because I don't know, Matt, if you want to come up for that, but it was kind of that it's, we're fitting in other projects at the same time, so
Yeah.
this is the opportunity to contract that out if we identified 15 improvements that we wanted to have done. And right now, we're doing a couple a year because of other work projects that we're working on.
So what I will say is that contracting the service out is quite difficult. We only have one contractor that would meet the requirements to do the work. They're already doing 3 very large projects for us at this time. Public Works is capable of completing this work. We are doing more than just putting in the rapid fire beacons. We're doing crosswalk improvements, we're doing sidewalk improvements, we're maybe doing drainage improvements in the area. I'm not sure how town of Lunenburg is doing 15 or 11 in 1 year, unless they're just putting Telstar posts on and putting the RFPs. I could have to talk to the town of Lunenburg to find out how they're accomplishing that. But we are doing
It's
more
all
than
accomplished.
just.
It's all done. They got them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I can say is that it also depends on the warrant analysis for it. So, as the traffic authority, I am not in a position to put up rapid fire beacons where they're not warranted, because that opens us up to liability to put them in other places or upon request. So you do have to meet certain criteria in terms of volume of traffic as pedestrians per hour at peak. To install more of those units. So if I install them in some place that does not meet those warranties, I have nothing to fall back on to say no, or like we have to follow the standard.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, and I recall you saying that last time this came up, but you know what? I mean, oh my gosh, it's crazy. If we have to do study after study just to put up, you know, see where we got to have them all ranked, and, you know, I'm not doubting that that's required.
Staff would do that ranking, depending on the location that you are thinking about. There are ones the staff could complete with doing their own traffic studies.
So I'm just thinking maybe could we start like with all of our collector roads or collector streets? Because typically we call them collectors just because they collect a lot of traffic, right?
So again, without a specific example, what I can say is any of our collector streets or our main streets themselves have signalized intersections, therefore they're not warranted. Staff and the traffic authority and staff would not be wrecking mid-block crosswalks because they're actually, drivers do not anticipate them well enough. They actually cause more issues than they should, or they create more issues than problems they solve. So now you're talking about our low volume roads. So depending on the example, again, if you're looking at, I know I get a number of requests for Dominion, the traffic levels and the speed do not warrant anything more than the zebra crosswalks with additional signage. As an example, because that's one I do hear a lot about.
Yeah. I think we've forwarded off a few from other areas of town. Anyway, I get frustrated with this whole process, but I think it's an easy fix, but that's easy for me to say, but. And it's only really, we're talking, it's about 10,000 per crosswalk.
The lights themselves are about 10,000, then you have the installation itself with labor and equipment, and the sidewalk, normally in the locations that we are installing them, our sidewalks don't meet our standard because they're currently paved sidewalks and they should be concrete, so then we have to go a certain distance. And normally, and in town, you could always find a new point to go to, but you try to make sure you go to a logical start and end, whether it be a driveway or where the sidewalk is the worst, to where it gets better again. So there are some challenges with just putting in a crosswalk itself and not thinking about the potential infrastructure or drainage issues that come along with it.
So I don't know, like are our standards too high?
No, our standards would be reflective of what's across Nova Scotia in terms of a 1.8 meter or 6 foot sidewalk.
Yeah.
And then depending on active transportation, you may need to require, depending on where those, what we're trying to accommodate,
Yeah.
maybe grass medians that are required, or even a 3 meter bike lane, or not a bike lane, but
Yeah,
I can't think of that.
like I'm not looking for new crosswalks, I'm just looking for a couple of posts for each crosswalk.
So you're looking to signalize unsignalized crosswalks?
So right now in the 10-year capital plan, we, to follow what council and staff have already accommodated in terms of the active transportation, the corridor for the trail, we are looking at installing those ones. Fortunately, with some of those ones, you don't require a lot of crosswalk improvements. But outside of that, I don't have any other locations that would warrant an RFP at this point.
Okay.
Being the flashing lights, yes.
So, because the way it goes is the first one is just purely parallel lines with signs. That's your ground mounted. Then you have a ground mounted plus, which is signage with advanced signage and a zebra crosswalk. Then you go into the rapid fire beacons. Then you go over to overhead crosswalk lights that exist on King Street or Dufferin Hill. And then you go into a signalized intersection. There's your options. And depending on, in our case, they depend on speed, but all of our roads are 50 kilometers an hour. So then you move on to the number of pedestrians that exist, or if there's any special circumstances that would warrant a higher level of treatment.
Deputy Mayor?
Just to use an example so I understand what warrants means. So the crosswalk that, I think it's Walnut Street, goes behind Service Canada in front of Kinsman Field, that one that comes off of
Dufferin Hill?
Dufferin.
On to Maple?
And, yeah.
Okay, yep.
Right. Yeah, sorry, Maple, not Walnut. So that one, there's not a high volume of traffic.
Correct.
But when people come down that hill and whip into that street, they do it fast. It's a dangerous crosswalk, and it's a long crosswalk. There isn't great visibility.
So in
what
that
would
case,
warrant or not warrant one there?
in that case, staff would look at what we can do to make it more safe, not necessarily the crosswalk treatment itself, but maybe the length of crosswalk. So in that case, staff have already begun to look at when we do the Dufferin Street upgrade. Can we narrow that, actually create Maple, instead of Maple Street being a Y, whatever angle that is, 80 to 70%, or 70 degrees, actually make it a 90. We have to require property to do so, but it shrinks the width or the length of the crosswalk, and it actually makes it harder for harder for any motoring public to speed in there quite, they have to slow down. So those would be the types of things I would do. It would still, in terms of warrant, the volume of traffic, the speed of traffic, and then the volume of pedestrians still only warrants twin parallel lines. But we would do other things to modify so it would make it more safe. So we've already thought of that one.
Right, okay, so
Yeah.
then instead of putting up, flashing, rapid flashing beacons or whatever they're called, we would buy land, adjust the street, like that sounds like a huge cost compared to.
In this case, there's other factors that come into it because we are doing a street upgrade and sewer and water and storm. So there are other things we're trying to reroute. In that example, we may be rerouting sewer down Maple Street. That warrants doing other things. So it really depends on the crosswalk and what else we need to do. That staff would, if it was just a standalone crosswalk and there's nothing else to do, then we look at treatments for that. But there are circumstances that may warrant a different approach because of the other factors.
I don't even know how you'd put flashing lights there, because you would be putting them on this, you'd be putting them for people to cross the street that no one coming down Dufferin would see. So do you know what I mean? They'd be coming down Dufferin to make the right onto Maple, but the crosswalk is technically not in their path.
It's almost running parallel.
You'd have to almost put it on Dufferin.
I just picked a crosswalk, I almost got hit in this week.
So in that case, again, depending on what we're trying to achieve, because it's more of a visibility issue, we'd be looking to see how we can make pedestrians more visible and shrinking that crosswalk so people actually have to slow down to navigate that turn, and they have a greater chance of seeing you at going 30 kilometers an hour rather than possibly 70 because they just feel it's a raceway right down.
Okay.
Councilor Newell.
Building on that, another example, York Street in front of the school. right? I've gotten a lot of feedback. One of the main ideas is like, hey, we should have these flashing sidewalks. Kids almost get hit all the time. I've heard this a couple of times.
So that's being done now.
Yeah. Are we putting in the flashing
It's
lights?
done.
Or
It's
it's done.
done.
Okay, we'll see there.
Yeah.
I drive up North Street, but
It's all looks great.
We're trying to achieve complete landscaping, having lights fully functional, and the zebra crosswalk, so that way it's ready for the start of school. We do rely on some contracted services, so we are trying to gently push them as much as we can.
I knew work was happening there. I just didn't realize it was that. So I appreciate you both for.
So with that, one of the to build on that, one of the crosswalks that is not in the 10-year capital plan, but we know in recent discussions with vice principal and principal of the Bridgewater Junior High School, is possibly doing the same thing on Queen Street. So staff have already had laid that out to see if it'll work, make sure that the drainage issues there's no drainage issue concern. We know we have a fire hydrant in the way. We're just seeing how we can work between the existing driveways and the parking on the other side to kind of do the same thing. Because we know that crosswalk is now becoming more used as well.
Other questions on the strategic priorities update? Going back to Councillor Conklin's question, I think this highlights when we get to budget time and we have the capital plan, and staff are presenting that. If we want things moved up or moved around, we really should be moving those around. And if it takes more money or changing a project's timeline and replacing, then that's...
Yeah, you'd have to take
Yeah.
something out to put more in, like, so in terms of workload, it wouldn't have an impact, right? But staff will be bringing the 10-year capital plan, because council approved the capital budget, but we had lots of conversation has to happen around capital priorities and debt service ratios and all those things, so council deferred that piece of it. So we will be bringing back a 10-year capital plan. It'll have the amounts, but we can bring a list that goes with that so you can kind of see what's planned. And if you want to move more crosswalk in a year, something comes out to make it work. If it's, because it's in-house resources is what we'd be using for the most part, so it'd be another in-house resource project. Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other questions, someone prepared to make a motion for the CIO's update report. Councillor Newman, thank you.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater accept the strategic priorities update and departmental quarterly reports for the first quarter Q1 of 2025-2026 fiscal year as presented, and further that Town Council approve the strategic priorities chart as contained in document number 25-134.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Conklin. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. 11.6 and 11.7 are the June and July Lunenburg County Senior Safety Program coordinators reports. Information there. They ran lots of programs and events, and the need continues to be high. So if you have any questions, or if any of the members of the public are looking for additional information, you can find their contact information on the reports. And just a reminder for the public that are watching, all the documentation that we have in front of us is available on the town's website under Council and Agenda, and you will find every piece of information we have is there, all laid out for you, with links to, thanks to Amanda for some shortcuts to make it so you don't have to read 477 pages of documentation. You could skip to the agenda item. Down to 11.8, letter from Remo, request for council support for facilitator for the governance review.
Yep. So when the Remo Regional Emergency Management Advisory Committee looked at doing some strategic planning, they got together and developed what the priorities would be with respects to Remo. And one of the things they did identify, and the councils agreed to, was looking at the governance structure for the regional emergency management organizations. So by that we mean the intermunicipal agreement, decisions, how budgets get approved, funding arrangements, all those things that are contained within that intermunicipal agreement. So that includes the participation of all 5 municipal units who are party to that agreement, And for that reason, the advisory committee, after considering some options with respects to how could we go about doing this review with 5 councils, determined that since the councils are the signatories to the agreement, the councils really needed to be at the table. And for that reason, the recommendation is that there be a facilitated session of all councils together at the same time to review the governance model, and essentially you would be discussing what's working well within the arrangement, what are some of the areas that we may want to look at that aren't working so great for us or may need some attention, to come up with possible revisions potentially to the intermunicipal agreement. But the key is that it wouldn't be done each council in isolation of the other. It would be, let's bring everyone together, bring in a facilitator, and work through the agreement. So we're looking at trying to get that done. There's a timeline that's kind of included in that, but the key is that we want to have any draft changes to the agreement in front of the councils by December. And that's just to make sure that everything aligns up and there's approval before the end of the fiscal year, because if there are disagreements, there's units have to take certain actions before the end of the fiscal year to deal with that. So it's a tight timeline, but we're hoping to be able to get a facilitator in this fall. So if council agrees to this process, that's what would happen.
Any questions on that? Councilor Caldwell?
It sounds unwieldy trying to get all of the councilors from all the councils in a room and try to hash things. Why not just have representatives from the councils?
They felt it was because the agreement has to go back to the councils for approval. And while it might work in some councils that you can have representatives, we're again 7 councils. We have larger councils or just maybe councils who are more comfortable having that type of decision happen at their table or them being involved in it. So it was just to make sure that all the voices were heard and not assume that the representative is going to relay that, be that voice for them, right? So it was comfort level of councils essentially. So the committee felt that given that there'd been some issues in the past with respects to that, they felt that it was best that we bring them all in at the table together and have that conversation. I agree. The facilitators got some work ahead of them in order to do it, but it has been done in the past. Okay. We brought all 5 together. I would envision what would happen is you wouldn't necessarily have the solutions in concrete that night, but you would have a clear understanding of where the issues are with some potential solutions discussed. And hopefully an agreement that there looks like one that seems to work the best. But there could be a little bit of back and forth after that between the councils as you work through the agreement. But that's kind of the intent, is to hear all the voices, get all the opinions, and try to come to a solution.
Yeah, this came out of, to the CIO's point, out of one council in particular not feeling that feeling that there was a bit of a disconnect between their representatives and where council thought things were going, and so it was felt that instead of again relying on a couple of people to relay all that to council and maybe that disconnect continues, by having all councillors or all available councillors present, then if we're going to do a review of the governance model, then at least everyone had an opportunity to get the same information, so that we're not, because every year we have to decide if we're in this together as 5 units or not. And so what we don't want is the regional part of EMO to be not regional. So, but it is a little bit like herding cats, right? It's a lot of people, and finding a day that works for, I'm not going to say everybody, a day that's going to work for as many people as possible. Yeah. So, good luck to whoever the facilitator is. No.
Do you want me?
Yes, please.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater accept the recommendation of the Remo Advisory Committee and support a facilitated council session to engage the review of its governance model.
Thank you. Seconded by
someone, please.
Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. And thank you to Councillor Newell, who is on this governance review committee of Remo.
It's fun times.
And yeah, I'm sure it was exciting. 11.9, extension of diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, education training to council members and council committee members.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this is a recommendation for council and the committees of council to undertake the same training that the staff are going to undertake for diversity and accessibility. So this is part of your strategic plan and priority to develop a culture of inclusion in the town of Bridgewater. And we've been working with our anti-racism and our accessibility coordinators and leveraging the research done by Chester on the procurement side. And we've come up with two, I think, very effective packages. One is an in-house 3-hour package for accessibility. We had our first session about 2 weeks ago. And the second one is a 9-hour online self-paced course through Placemaking 4G or P4G. And it's a Nova Scotia-based company that teaches about inclusion and belonging. And I'm about halfway through that program as well. And these two programs together, we are taking as a staff, and we're going to set a goal of having all staff through this by December of next year. And our recommendation is that it would be a great message and great training for council and all of the committees to also do this training. It is a 12 hours of time that in your spare time that you'll have to do. But based on what I've taken so far, I think the investment is well worthwhile and will open up your eyes and give you some new perspectives.
Great. Questions from council? Councilor Collo.
I have concerns about not about council, about members of volunteer committees having to do the entire 12 hours. It's
Council advisory committees, yeah.
Yeah, so that's it's hard getting volunteers in the first place.
Mhm.
So if you're asking them to do 12 hours of work besides what they're signing up to do, I'm not sure. I get the intent; it's a good intent, but it might seem onerous for volunteers that we have a hard time finding in the first place.
Yeah, I think some of the, I certainly understand that. The P4G is online and at your own pace. So you could start it now and do the 9 hours over a year and a bit.
18 months, yeah.
18 months. Part of the rationale is that our role is in the delivery of services, and council's role is in the delivery of policy that helps direct those services. And you have advisory committees to advise you on policy and service delivery. So it's to bring that lens to that advice, or certainly increase that awareness when they're making those recommendations to council. So that's kind of the intent or rationale, I believe, behind that, is to ensure that there's that inclusion within the advisory component of the committee when it comes to council. I understand the time commitment, but I think giving it to December 2026 does give them a long window to get there. The 3 hours of accessibility training, we could look at how we could break that up, because that's more in person, right?
Yeah, it's delivered by staff right now,
Mhm.
so between Ellen and we're going to have some staff instructors as well. And we could do that in a session. We could bring people together for an evening and do that. We did it the other day. We did it, I would say, in fairly measured time, and it took us 3 hours. Could you compress it to 2? Possibly.
Mhm.
But, you know, you're going to dedicate an evening to doing that training and getting that knowledge. And again, having just done it is really eye-opening. It challenges some of the things that we believe. And like the CAO has said, it's good leadership for anybody that's making decisions for the town, and demonstrates our commitment to belonging and inclusion. So, but if there's a different method or a different way that you would like to, or amount of time commitment you think is more appropriate, that's entirely your decision. We've looked at some other packages, and this was the one that we felt was a good balance between cost and time commitment and content.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if, again, my concern is not with council, but the committees. Like, I wonder if we should consult with the committees and have them report back on how they feel about it. Would they like a different option? Is this one good? Or, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just have some concerns about all of a sudden telling somebody who's volunteered for a committee that's dealing with whatever it may be, recreation, and now that we're telling them this is mandatory, you have to do this, and it wasn't what they expected, and I just worry that it's going to also affect our ability to recruit people to be on these committees.
That was kind of my question in terms of mandatory versus
Voluntary?
voluntary. So for council, I can see, you make that mandatory. It's part of our job. We should be doing that. But for volunteers, recognizing that also someone could have 1 year left on their term. So I like the idea of going back to the committees and just, I'd hate to then put a policy in place that then we see mass exodus of people who are just like, I don't have 11, 12 hours extra. I'm already giving you my time. And finding that balance between that and making sure that people are educated and aware. Councillor Conklin.
Yeah, so I can appreciate where the concern is coming from. We're asking more from our volunteers, but this is the society we live in now. This is how it is. Hockey Canada, it's been years now where you have to get like a criminal records check done. You got to get child abuse registry check done. To volunteer in a school, you have to get checks done. I've had instances, and I'm sure our traffic authority guy, Matt, can attest to this. Hockey team, a minor hockey team, where you have a family doctor who wants to be your trainer or help on staff. He still has to take the Hockey Canada safety program. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but that's just kind of how things are now. Like, the society's just gone wonky. And there's so many groups out there that are like conspiracy theorists thinking that, we're all being controlled by the man or whatever. But, I do a lot of those, types of online learning courses through my employer. And, a lot of times I think it's redundant, but I come away with learning something every time. And, I feel bad for any volunteers who are pressed for time and can't afford another 12 hours. But if that's something that we got to do, and that's something that our deputy CAO thinks is probably a good avenue to take, then, that's just how it is. That's my point of view. Do it. But
thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Seems to me like it might be worthwhile trying and seeing what kind of uptake we get. If we find that most of our committee members didn't complete it, is there any way to tell if it was completed?
Well, I think we could probably ask people, and they could tell us, but I'm sure there's a back-end way to do it through the software. I'm quite confident.
If people take
somebody
advantage
with
of
IT
it.
skills could figure that out.
Yes, the answer is probably yes. But
If people take advantage of it, great. If they don't, then maybe we just continue the practice if it's not being utilized.
Like I said, the online stuff is 9 hours. I've taken it also with other organizations. This is by far the best that I've ever seen. And it is fairly manageable. You can kind of do it in half-hour, 45-minute chunks. So, I also have other work to do. And I have been able to fit, every 3 weeks or so, an hour in. And, I'm getting through it slowly.
I just think going back to what Councillor Caldwell was saying, though, you're paid to do that.
Yeah.
I also have to do all these courses through my employer, and we just had another round of them. And I agree with, like, for some of them, it's like, I don't manage customers' money. Why am I taking this course? But it's my employer makes me do it, but I'm paid for my time to do it. So this is not a reflection of the value of the course or the importance of taking it. Again, I think it should be absolutely mandatory. You want to be on council, you have to take this training. We can argue if you should be able to, you should have to take it before you run for council or not. But I do like the idea of it, at least before we tell committee members, potentially, you can no longer be a volunteer for an advisory committee for council unless you take this? Should we at least talk to them and say, how do you feel about this? Maybe they would say, this is great, make it mandatory. We have problems and we have to address this. Or they may say, this committee will fold if we push too far. And that might highlight other changes that we need to make. But I just, engaging them first just to get a sense is, I think, a little bit more respectful and just seeing where they sit. Councilor Newell?
I mean, equally to that point, we should verify that, one, there's the technical ability to it. I mean, there's no real point to rely on someone's like honesty, right? If we're not going to have a way to validate this or create a process of which to remove people because they didn't fulfill this training, there's no point to make it mandatory. I mean, quite frankly, because we will lack the mechanisms to verify it. So that's one.
I'm pretty confident.
I'm sure it is, right? Don't you hate it when you just lose your other thought? Come back to me. I'll raise my hand if I think about it. I apologize.
No worries.
I was like on a roll.
Except we're probably at the end of the discussion on this topic. End of the meeting, you're going to be like, got it.
This isn't the point, but 3 hours for the accessibility training, very, very manageable. I will admit 9 hours for I got the EDI training. That's triple the jump. That's a lot more time. Like, I think it would be an easy argument to say to a person, take 2 evenings, right? Or do 4 hours one evening. I think that would be more manageable. So I guess, like, what's the rationale? Like, I also take, EDI and other training for work, but it's not 9 hours. So I'm just curious of, like, what's the rationale of taking what admittedly, at least in my experience, is quite a lot more training than, or a lot longer than what I've experienced so far.
Yeah, so, I mean, there were several programs evaluated with different lengths and content. We relied on the feedback from our regional coordinator and from Chester, who did the evaluation. And again, they offered, so P4G actually offered some free training. So I think there's about 10 of us that took the free training opportunity. Some of them have completed it, and I'm about halfway through. And again, based on sort of comparison to 2 other organizations that have completed this training, where it's maybe 2 or 3 hours, this is very, very mind expanding. You really stop and think. And based on council's strategic priority of changing the workplace culture and improving, inclusion and belonging in the town, we're talking about kind of social engineering, changing people's attitudes, and that does take time and effort to sort of think about these ideas in a different way. So even though it's 9 hours, and I appreciate all of the points that council has made, and they're very valid, getting people to think differently about old ideas is very challenging. So even the 9 hours, it's just an introduction to changing your social ideas about people and other people in society. It's a complex thing. I mean, racism is a worldwide problem. It's not peculiar to Bridgewater or any one place. So these are deep concepts. And there's some videos in here when you watch them, you cannot forget the impact of those things. It just really hits you between the eyes. So that's my experience so far in the training. Yeah.
Deputy Mayor.
The accessibility component, that's 3 hours in
Yeah.
person, correct? Is that what the advisory would have done?
I wasn't there for the one last summer. We did the shorter one with Ellen. It was about an hour, so it was much more in depth than that. But again, we're lucky to have Ellen, who's actually the vice chair of the provincial advisory committee, so she brings all of that expertise with her to the discussion. So we probably have a level of discussion that not everybody gets. So to that, so I don't know.
In those cases, the training, I'm not sure I took much from it. The conversation
right.
that happened after it was great, so that's nice for the in-person versus the online. But the training itself could have been 45 minutes, an hour, sort of 3 or 4 hours. I think we were there 4 hours.
Yeah, we did it 3 hours, and again, I would say that to think through and allow for some discussion to happen, I think it was an appropriate time frame, that 3 hours. Well, you were there for that. Yeah.
So I'm hearing council say that you would like us to consult with the committee to determine, see what the feedback is with respects to requiring them to take this training over the next 18-month period, to see if there's any opposition, is that what I'm hearing, or?
Well, not necessarily opposition, but just,
Concern?
I hate for this conversation to come across as we're trying to get volunteers out of doing any kind of education. That's not what it is. But, like, I have a whole bunch of questions, like, what do we do if someone is a volunteer, but they have already taken very similar training through their work? Are they going to have to do that again? Like, I'm assuming this now means all the terms of reference for all our advisory committees will now have to be updated to reflect that, you know, you have to take this training, and what is the penalty if they don't? If they don't take this training is only for this batch of volunteers. So what happens when we appoint someone in a year and a half from now? They don't have to take that training? What happens if we appoint someone in October of 2026? Do they have 2 months to complete the training? Is this, do you know what I mean? Like, I have a whole bunch of questions. Again, council, no problem. We all know we're here until 2028. And I don't know why I rolled my eyes. We're all here until 2028. And I think because whatever the recommendations from these advisory groups are, they come to council, and we should be looking through that lens. So I do feel that there maybe should have been a check-in with
The
committees, just to say, this is coming, mandatory, optional, like, how do you feel? And again, they may come back and go, this should be absolutely mandatory for everyone, and I think it's crazy if people are not taking this course and being asked to serve. But that check-in, I think, versus council's imposing of this, which I'm assuming means if you don't take it, you're off. Kind of.
Or have an equivalent.
Yeah, maybe we'll start with, we'll go back to the committees and we'll get a temperature check with the committees and find out what their thoughts are on this, and then we'll bring that back to council for your consideration. And in the meantime, if you we can proceed with other training and give you access to it once we get the contract signed, and then as time permits, you can start the training and see for yourselves what it's like.
Yeah, Councillor Conklin.
So, I guess I'm just curious, like, would we be having the same discussion if the recommended program was like 3 hours? So what's the issue, really? What, the length of the program, or the fact that we are asking our volunteers to take a program that, sure, it's kind of lengthy, but it also comes with a $75 cost that they'll get to have, comp to them, because town or the municipality will pay for it. But I don't know. I mean, going back, I mean, I don't know. Well, I don't know what the issue is. I think actually it might be the length of the program, the time. And I see, Modal has opted for another provider, so not sure which of the 4 that they have selected to go to, but probably find out after this
They're
meeting.
doing Paradigm. Their training is through Paradigm, and they were about a year ahead of everybody else. And I also did their training. So it's also good training. They were just a little ahead of the other municipalities when we said, hey, let's do the rest of it as a region.
Gotcha.
So they did it differently because they were first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Councillor Nolan.
Do we also intend, or I suppose, would we expect then, I guess, our accessibility and EDI coordinators, so I guess be the people who, for lack of a better term, forgive me, like police this, like to be logged in the dashboard and following other people? Because if we're going to, hypothetically, if it does go to committees and someone has to then monitor this, especially as we appoint people in different
So I think our
rhythms.
coordinators talked about metrics on the regional plan. We still, by the way, that's in draft. It hasn't yet been approved by, it hasn't been looked at by the new committee and hasn't been brought to council for final approval. But in the meantime, we ran with the premise that, building staff capacity and by extension, councillor capacity was probably still a good part of what we're going to do anyway. So yeah, I would expect that you get some rolled up metrics as we move along here.
Forgive me, maybe it was the way I phrased my question. I guess it's more so like, it's not just the metrics, it's going to have to be, like, someone's going to have to be responsible to monitor this
Yeah.
dashboard,
So
I guess, and follow
internally
people.
for us,
Yeah.
me and Julie will take care
Okay.
of that.
Yeah. Well, because if it goes out to all the volunteers, then someone will have to be like, "Hey, you didn't complete your training follow," especially a year and a half. That's a long time, and someone's going to forget about it, and someone's going to have to follow me. Like, it's been 6 months. You're doing your training, unless that's automated, right?
We do it with the security, we do it with first aid, we do it with all the other
Yeah.
training, so yeah, we just do it there.
Councilor Fajer?
Yeah, just to add on to what you said, Mayor Mitchell and Councillor Conklin and Councillor Colwell, as well as Councillor Knoll. You all bring up good points, and for me, it's asking, I think if we're telling the committee members this is a requirement versus we're asking. So I know a lot of them are on multiple committees. They're volunteers in our community. So for me, it's when you sign up to a committee or an advisory board, a lot of people want to know what the time commitment is, what your responsibilities are, and I think it's a transparency from council to say this is what we're looking at versus saying this is what you need to do. So I think it would be appropriate to ask the committees how they feel about it, in my opinion. Yes, the time commitment may be, you know, as Councillor Conklin said, is it 3 hours versus 9 hours versus as you mentioned, you know, you volunteer through hockey, you're required to do courses. But I think when I look at it, it's, you know, you chose that program because of the quality and the meaningful message that you're getting from that. So again, it's coming back to, I feel better personally asking the volunteers of their opinion. I myself would like to maybe dive into the course a bit, just to know a little bit about it if I'm going to be asked questions from the committee members. So just my personal take on it. So. But I thank you for your work, because I know it's not easy to take the time and see what's the best option, right? So it's kind of like you could have easily gone with a lesser amount of time, but not deliver the message or the importance of what you're trying to achieve at the end of the day. So.
Councilor Wana, I'm torn. My mind's just spinning here because I see great points the whole way around.
Yeah.
I tend to lean towards Councilor Conklin here in that, you know, we sit around a table here and our volunteers are usually volunteering because they're leaders in the community, and I think this is a good leadership step in educating ourselves in diversity and in equity. I know 9 hours sounds like a long time, but it's a long time to complete it too. I don't know. I think it's a chance to be a leader. The town can be a leader, and having this as an expectation for volunteers, that's kind of where my mind's leading right now.
Yep, that's good. One of the options we could do is we could obviously make it mandatory for council. We could make it voluntary for committees while we do the check-in, and if the committees come back and say this should be mandatory, then they can make it mandatory, and then we could make it mandatory going forward. So to Councillor Fajer's point, when they signed up, if they asked for the time commitment and someone said, oh, it's an hour a month or 2 hours a month, and yes, there's a long runway. There's a long runway for the people on committees now. It's not a long runway for the people who are going to be put on a committee 8 months from now, who then have less than a year, right? So it's finding that balance while respecting that this is new for the committee. So is that something we can do? To say that we approve the inclusion of council, and we could even add the word as mandatory, and council committees as voluntary while we do a check-in for the diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility, education training to be completed by December 2026. Does that kind of strike a balance? To your point, if they're leaders in the community, they may all say, fantastic. $75 course that someone else is going to pay for, that I get the training and helps me do the job that I'm volunteering to do.
Okay.
That's just my suggestion. I'm just, there's no strong mayor powers, it's just one voice.
That's a really church comment.
I want to make that clear, just one voice. Councillor Caldwell.
I think that's a fine compromise, and I mean, we do have until December 26th, so there's no hurry to get the committees on board. We could consult with them, in September, and hear back from council, and I would just like to hear what they have to say before telling them they have to do this, or, I don't know, possibly no longer serve on the committee, like, I don't know, I'd at least like to consult with them, like we do with the community on a lot of issues. It's going to affect them directly. I'd at least like to hear from them before we decide. And in the meantime, yes, we could make it mandatory for us.
Councillor Coughlin?
I just want to add one other thing. Matt, I know if Hockey Canada had come to me 20 years ago and asked me if I wanted to take this or this, spend a weekend in Cole Harbour to take a coaching course, I would have said no. So, I mean, I think, sure, let's go and consult with our volunteers, but, you know, it's our committees, right? It's the town's committee, and we want to make sure that our committees are representing our citizens as a whole, and if that means that we need to introduce some DEIA education, then so be it. But maybe it would be a grandfather thing where it'd be for the new committee members coming in. But I don't think that we should ask them if they should take it. Really. I mean, sure, let's get their opinion, but I think it's something, if we feel that this is important enough for us to take, then it's something that's important enough for our committee members to take as well.
One more thing, just in response to Councillor Conklin, ultimately, I may feel the same way, but I would like to hear from them first. I'd like to give them an opportunity to give us feedback. And I mean, at the end of the day, I may feel the same way as you after hearing from them. It's like, you know, we gave you a chance, I've heard you out, but ultimately, I think you should take it. But I would like to at least give them an opportunity to give us some feedback.
I agree, mostly also because we will be forcing a change in the terms of reference. So it seems a little, normally we would have that consultation and the committee would come to council and say we need to change our terms of reference. So I think going to them and engaging, the outcome may be the same. They all may say we got to take it. So but I hear your points are well made. So is someone prepared to rework a motion? I'll take a stab at it. Councillor, why not?
I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater approve the inclusion of council council members for mandatory diversity, equity, and inclusion and accessibility education training by December 2026, and to consult with committee members and have feedback from them.
Do you want to say on voluntary versus mandatory
Do we want to
training? How do you want to? It's that last part.
It's the last part.
If we just made the motion pertinent to council,
Okay.
Then we can do a
and
second
then I
motion.
can go back and talk to the committees,
Oh.
bring that stuff back, and then you can make another motion regarding the
Let's
committees
do
of
that.
council. if
You happy with
works.
that?
So do you want me to reword that?
Oh,
Just
no,
to
I
make
think
it.
you,
No,
you
you
ended
got
it
it.
right where you
Got it?
had
Okay.
to.
Yeah, you got it, Amanda? Are we good?
Town Council of the Town of Bridgewater approve the inclusion of council members as mandatory for diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility education training by December 2026.
Perfect.
Perfect.
And then we'll do the check-in and it'll come back. Great.
Thank you, Mark.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Caldwell, further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. That was a good discussion. Oh, love that. Okay, we're getting to the end. 11.10? 10. Video cameras in the Bridgewater downtown core. So
this has been raised by a number of us around the council table and members of the public. We do have cameras in the downtown core, but just increasing that coverage for more areas in the street, something that council expressed some interest in having, and so that requires sending that to the Bridgewater Board of Police Commissioners for consideration, as they would be the ones, police would be the ones operating the camera. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that, Councilor Bashir?
So, but it would be a budget item for.
Unless they could incorporate it.
Unless they could, okay,
Yeah.
so they
Yeah.
would take it out of their budget.
Well, it's the town's
Town's
budget.
budget.
It's going in their,
Yes,
it's going
yes.
in their budget.
It's going in
Yes.
their budget.
That we
Right.
approve.
Yeah. Unless you want to approve it as an unbudgeted expenditure in 25, 26, then it would be subject to their work program and ability to put it in within this. But this would give them that planning time to put it in place in 26, 27.
Councilor Caldwell.
So this would not be a capital expense? This would come out of
Depending
the
on the
police?
Depends on the
price.
cost.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Depends on the cost. If it's over a
Okay,
certain amount, it goes
okay.
capital.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the idea would be to, this is not on the police board's agenda currently, so it'd be referring it to them for, asking them to add it to their budget. Councilor Conklin.
So let's say the commission approves it, yeah, okay, we're going, or they're going to add it to the 26, 27 budget. Like, what are we looking at for a timeline before we get any more cameras?
I think that would be part of their review to determine, how quick those could be installed. Is there any infrastructure required to be installed to support it? Like, I don't know what the cabling, or Wi-Fi cabling, whatever it is like in the down, I don't know, non-technical, but do you know what I mean? Like, do we have
Extension
the
cord.
strength to do that?
I'll string one of those down King Street.
They'd have to determine numbers and
required,
locations anyway.
Yeah.
So that would be the first step, is someone has to do that review to say it's 4 cameras, 6 cameras,
Yeah,
2
so-
cameras.
What's the
So
support
that
needed?
could very well be another 2 years.
Well, I
No,
think
no,
they
I would
do
say
that
they would do that now.
For budget.
For budget,
Yeah.
so it's ready for budget.
So they'd scope it pre-budget so they know the amount.
Yeah. So my expectation would be, if we're asking them to put it in the 26, 27 budget, that it is in the 26, like it's done soon after. But that would come back to the chief to say it's a huge
Yeah.
job or not.
As opposed to do this as a pre-budgeted item for 25, 26. Is there any possibility that this maybe can get done by spring?
So that would be, if we do it this year, it's an unbudgeted expense. We
You
could
could
seek
ask for
pre-budgetary
pre-budget
approval.
Yeah.
So it is done in the spring.
Yeah.
We could.
So this recommendation would go to the councils to include the money in the 26, 27 budget for cameras. So you could, you can either include it in the motion to say, and consider, you'd want to know the cost before you gave pre-budget approval. So you may say that they, that think the members that were on the commission could reinforce the council's desire to see these cameras go up as quick as possible. So if you're able to get a number that you're comfortable doing pre-budget approval on, then they could always bring that back.
So why don't we do this, if we're making this recommendation to the police commission, then as members of the police commission, we will talk about getting this scoped out and coming back for pre-budgetary approval.
If possible,
If
yeah.
possible. Okay?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Someone prepared to make a motion, Councilor Newell?
I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater refer the matter of additional video cameras in the downtown core area to the Bridgewater Board of Police Commissioners for consideration in the 2026-2027 budget.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor McDonald. Further discussion? All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Mayor, do you always have your head on a swivel like I do? Just.
She has a bigger room, right?
That's right, that's right. I'm always banging the arms of my chair into the desk, and my wife is always texting me saying, I can hear you hitting the desk and the microphone. All right, budget reallocation, records management, cemetery digitization project.
This is just a request to move budget that will be unspent in one project, which is the building records now you have me tripping over it. Digitization project over to the cemetery budget to support digitization work that we didn't quite complete last year to happen over there. And that the staffing associated with this will start with, sort of all came together last week also when the band came in for working in the woods and being out on the trails and in the parks. And so then what do we do with our Hemlock team that we still have on staff who supported the cemetery work last year? So since the report was written, however, the work that we're doing with the District of Lunenburg will be proceeding. So that is just a change to what was written in the report. So they will continue to do that inventory work, but we can't do any treatment because of the drought. The trees aren't taking up the pesticide. So it will do more harm than good to put the pesticide treatment on the trees right now. So in their downtime, they need something else to do, and we need our records digitized.
There you go. Okay, any questions for the director? Councilor Caldwell?
I guess my question is about the Hemlock project. So what does this mean for the longer term? Does it just simply slow us down a little bit?
It's just slowing us down right now.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know right now how long that will slow us down.
So it doesn't-
Because really the drought work for the town's project, our inventory work is mostly complete. I think Riverview Park is still challenging, but we're working with the province on that. But we can't treat the remaining trees that we need to treat until we get some water and they start to move the sap through the tree again.
So long
it's just a
term, it'll all
slowdown.
get done and-
Long term, we're on track. Yeah.
Other questions? None, is someone prepared to make a motion? Deputy Mayor?
Move the town council for the town of Bridgewater approve the reallocation of up to $40,000 from the planning operational budget to the cemetery operational budget to complete the cemetery records digitization project.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Minot. No, it's not me. You will choose different words next time. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Our last item is the discussion session notes for the July 7th meeting are in there. We talked about the park improvements plan, and that was a great discussion as well. This is our last council meeting for August. Our next meeting will be, our discussion session will be on the Tuesday after Labor Day, so the 2nd, for that, and then we'll return to our regular council schedule.
Scheduled program.
Yes, so we have no in-camera meeting after this, so that is it. Motion to adjourn, please. Councilor Newell, Councilor Vergier, we are adjourned. Thank you.